Welcome all to Spotlight Sessions, where we shine a light on incredible organizations and the work that they do. I am your host, Josh Basil. I'm a C4-5 quadriplegic. I'm a passionate disability rights advocate and attorney focused on breaking down barriers to access and inclusion for people with disabilities. Today, we are joined by Yannick Benjamin and the Wheeling Forward Foundation. Welcome, Yannick.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure. Long time.
It has been. COVID has definitely pushed people away, but you know what? The internet and the ability to do things like this brings us back together. So, Yannick, tell everybody about yourself.
Yeah, my name is Yannick Benjamin. I am a paraplegic, T6, complete. I was injured in a car accident in 2003 at the age of 25 years old. And prior to that, I was always in the hospitality restaurant business. Pretty much from the age of 13 years old, I knew that was the thing that I wanted to do, and that's what I devoted my life to doing. Never looked back, never regretted it. Both of my parents are from France. They're French immigrants who moved out here for a better life. Both also worked in the hospitality industry, worked very hard, and I wanted to be exactly like them. I'm born and raised in New York City. Love it. I think it's the greatest city in the world, especially for food and wine. So I'm a little biased. Of course, there's other great cities. But as you can imagine, at the age of 25 years old, having this car accident that happened to me, particularly at that age, I thought I kind of had everything figured out. I thought I had this roadmap to my future. And all of a sudden, this concept or everything that I worked for, that I built was going to disappear, because the concept of someone on a wheelchair, working in a restaurant, working in a hospitality establishment, was almost impossible. And to me, it almost seemed impossible as well, because when we think about restaurants, you think about the wine cellar that's downstairs, there's flights of stairs, tables are on top of each other. So how do you possibly navigate and get around?
As the business owner, you have to be everywhere.
Correct, exactly. So that seemed really daunting, but I really believed that if I found the right space and I can show the people that would hire me that I brought value to the actual business, and if it was an owner that really believed in the bottom line, then I think everything else would be secondary, right? And so I did always have that optimism, but for sure, a couple of months after I left rehabilitation, I guess, forget about not being able to walk again, but really trying to navigate sort of the social barriers. I guess I wasn't really prepared for that. And that was really challenging. And I don't think anybody was ever actually mean, or there was this bias towards me purposely, but certainly people didn't know how to deal with me, or actually they didn't have the know-how to understand what my situation was all about. So even before taking the chance and getting to know me, they just automatically kind of just said, oh, this guy's in a wheelchair. How can he possibly serve guests? How can he possibly open bottles of wine? How can he possibly serve food, get around the restaurant? And I think that's what they saw. And that was very...
And that's I think so much of that is just a lack of exposure.
Correct.
Like, it's just, they've never seen anybody in that space doing what you were, dreaming of doing. But the fact is that you did it. And now they have that as an example. And it's just like, they probably, the next person, the next Yannick Benjamin that's going to go out and do it, they're not going to have that same, preconceptions or thought process in their mind. They're going to, you just changed their perspective, which is a beautiful thing.
Well,
you're changing the conversation there.
Well, I thank you for saying that. And I don't care about being the first. I'm sure there's someone in this world that did something like this. We just don't know about them. But certainly I think the most important thing is not to be the last, because what's the point of keeping all the resources to yourself if you can't share them with other people?
100% agree with you. We're on this journey together. All people, all abilities, but we need to support each other. We need to holding back on secrets does nothing to
Yeah.
help advance us as a community. Um, and I just love what you're doing. I'm so excited to even dive deeper into what you are doing, what you will continue to do. But so on social media, I thought I saw. Did you guys just win an award recently, like a top 10 or what?
Yeah.
Tell us about that.
Josh, I recently opened up the restaurant Contento restaurant up in East Harlem. That was supposed to be open in spring of 2020, but unfortunately COVID came, so that project was suspended. And we were finally able to open up our doors after 1 year or a year and a half. It was very long, and we opened our doors on June 10th, 2001. And we didn't know what was going to happen. I mean, it was, we're still living in COVID times, and we still have a long way to go, even right now. But boy, the reception has been amazing. The media has been so kind to us. And that review that you're talking about, the New York Times selected us as a top 10 best new restaurants. And then Esquire magazine selected us as one of the best restaurants in America. So the accolades have been just overwhelming, but boy, are we blessed.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
That's huge.
It's
New York Times
yeah.
in New York City getting that review.
Yeah.
That's a pretty solid review to get. That's great. So tell us more about Wheeling Forward Foundation and kind of what you guys do and what you're all about.
Yeah, Wheeling Forward was founded in 2012 along with Alex Elagudin, incredibly talented and generous man, who happened to be my roommate when I was in rehabilitation. We were both in two separate car accidents. He's a quadriplegic. I'm a paraplegic, but we bonded, obviously very difficult times. And the one thing that we kind of came to the realization, despite going through this moment of tragedy, this real big change in our life, we knew that we were very fortunate, very lucky. We had friends and family who came to visit us every single day. We knew that eventually after our rehab, our session, or what can you say, our period in rehabilitation was over, we were going to go back home. We had, we were both from, hardworking families, hardworking immigrant families, but we had the resources to make small home modifications that go a long way. And there were other individuals that we became friends with on the same floor that were not going back home, and friends and family were not visiting them. And when their insurance got exhausted and it was time to leave, they all went to nursing homes. And we just thought that was really terrible. And so really what Wheeling Forward is all about is a nonprofit to provide those with love, care, and support that they don't have from family or friends. And so hopefully, they get that from Wheeling Forward. It's really an organization about quality of life. How can we help others achieve their goals and navigate any kind of obstacles that are going to come their way?
Well, it's all about Wheeling Forward.
That's right.
That's right. And doing it together and not having to do it alone.
That's right.
So much of someone's journey, especially when life gets flipped upside down or changes drastically. If you feel like you have to do it alone, it becomes a scary world, especially when so much of what you are trying to do is brand new. But if you can learn from others, if you can follow in other people's footsteps or wheel tracks or however you want to put it, like you've got a team, you've got a community behind you. And no, I love what you're doing.
Thank you.
And it's awesome. And then let's talk a little bit about Wine on Wheels. What's that all about?
Yeah, Wine on Wheels is basically a spinoff from Wheeling Forward. And so, how we would generate revenue for and awareness for Wheeling Forward was through these wine and food events. Wine on Wheels happened every year from 2012 up until COVID. We would have well over 500 guests, 300 different wines poured from around the world, and food from different restaurants. It was a really great, it's a grand tasting walk around format events. It was absolutely lovely. Great energy, great ambiance. But people started to associate Wheeling Forward as Wine on Wheels. And my dream and my goal for the longest time was really to how can I bring more awareness and break more barriers in the hospitality industry. And as you know already, Josh, um, the unemployment rate that we have in the disability community is so high. And in the hospitality community, we're always looking for good people, always. And I'm trying to figure out, well, why aren't we targeting that population, the disability population? Well, I think that what I want to do is create an organization like Wine on Wheels. That'll be the name of the 501c3. It's 501c3 pending right now. But we'll recreate a situation or a place where people can come, people with disabilities, and we train them and we provide them with the resources. And then we use our connections, our networks, and we get them paid internships. So they get their foot in the door. And at least they don't have the pressure of just going straight into work and not having any experience. Here at least they're an intern and they have that opportunity to take their time and learn as they go. And so that's the direction that I want to go into.
I love that. And too often persons with disabilities have gaps in their resume because of their disability. They had to take time off. They had to do physical therapy. But once they get their body and mind stronger and ready to re-enter society and the workforce, they're almost like having to play catch up. So what you're doing is giving them that edge to like get their wheels wet or get back in the door and show the world what they got. So often it's just somebody needs a chance to dance and be able to like really, show them what you got and what I also love about it is getting somebody back in the game. It boosts the confidence so much more than without it. It's just so much of this world is perspective and confidence.
Mm-hmm.
If you have both of those, you basically have a superpower in my mind.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. It's all about visualization and just getting and just imagining that you can be the best at that particular goal and that you can overcome obstacles. But in order to get there, you really need a great community of people. You need people to help you to get into the doors. And hopefully I'll be able to provide that along with my colleagues for so many of these individuals. I have so many people with disabilities who come to the restaurant and are like, I've always been fascinated with restaurants and hospitality, but I just don't know how to get into it. I don't know how this all works. So I think this will be a good stepping stone, baby steps.
I love it. And you're absolutely showing the way. And once again, you're wheeling forward. All right. So in the restaurant business, what are some things that restaurants can do to bring more accessibility, inclusion into the food industry?
Well, certainly, of course, you want to make sure that there's no real physical barriers. I think that's really important. Making sure that the tables are a certain height, the bases are not, obstructing. Making sure that you have adaptive forks and knives available, at least upon request. Little things like that go a long way, and especially if you're building the restaurant from the ground up. I mean, like, make sure the doors are wide, make sure there's grab bars in the bathroom. I mean, there's just no excuse in this day of age. You can, in the bathroom too, the soap dispenser, the towel dispenser, make sure they're touchless, things of that nature. I mean, those are real simple little things that really go a long way. But I think it's important to emphasize that you can have a restaurant that's completely barrier free, that has the most amazing universal design. But if the culture is not there and it's not inviting to the guest that has a disability and the actual employees, the actual staff isn't trained on how to deal with people with disabilities, then all that universal design means absolutely nothing. It just doesn't mean anything. So I think, something that we've done at Contento, we've had people from the blind and low vision community, from the deaf and hard hearing community come in and do seminars for us. And I think that's gone a long way. And we're going to continue to do stuff like that. And it's really helped our staff to, really develop that empathy and that kindness and that excitement, that, not that fear, but excitement to go and really serve someone with a disability.
Well, you chose to learn. So much of being able to keep moving forward as a business is learning what you don't know. And when you don't know it, you basically have the ability to open up so many more doors and expand, in my eyes, opportunities. Persons with disabilities, we're talking about 1/4 of the population
Right.
of the United States has some type of disability. And this is a huge market. This is a huge market with millions of people. And last year's reporting, I think it was $490 billion in spending power.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you want to invite $490 billion and a piece of that to maybe go to your business? And, I think you probably know this more than anything, is how brand loyal the disability community is. So like people of blind, low vision, hard of hearing, mobility disabilities, probably when they go to your restaurant and they see and experience how much you guys have welcomed them, they come back as repeat customers over and over again. They're so brand loyal. Have you experienced that? Can you shine a light for other businesses that might be listening in?
Yeah. Thank you for that question and some really good points. What we've noticed based on our metrics, and what may not seem like a high number, but think about this. I would say on an average basis, about 3% of the clientele that actually comes to Contento restaurant has some kind of disability, which may not seem like a high number for some people, but that is like, it's telling, And what that says to me is that people are coming to Contento, yes, because it's barrier free, but they know they're ensured that the staff is trained and they're going to treat them with the respect that they deserve and the dignity that they deserve. So imagine that 3%. And I'll give you perspective. I work in an industry that a restaurant's considered highly successful when they are doing 10% net profit at the end of the year. 10% net profit is absolutely nothing because you're one natural disaster away, another terrorist attack, another pandemic from happening, and you're down the tubes. So we as an industry are in no position to disregard 61 million Americans that have $490 million of spending power.
Billion.
Yeah, billion. I mean,
and that's good. And I bet you that 3% is actually higher because so much of, when we do, a lot of times the 3% is what we can see or that's visible disabilities.
Absolutely.
There's so many invisible disabilities that people have. So it's.
And that's a good point. I completely agree with you on that. Absolutely.
And let's see what else. So with all the incredible things that you've done over the years and continue to do, what would you say is an accomplishment that you're really proud of that you can share with us?
I would say it happens, a few times a month when I'm working at the restaurant and when I see, there's a good friend of mine, he's part of the blind community and he's sitting at the bar and he's got his guide dog, Ingo, right next to him. And then there's a couple other people dining and they're on their wheelchairs and they're having a good time and they're having a good laugh and they're forgetting about all their troubles. And you just look around the dining room and there's this incredible motley crew of diversity. And everybody's there just to have a good meal and be surrounded by good people. And that to me is an accomplishment. That to me is that moment of Zen, because that's exactly what Contento was always meant to be and has become and will continue to grow in that aspect.
I'm just like picturing that right now. And it's like you, because of your ideas, your passion, you created an environment welcoming to all abilities, and to be able to see all abilities at one restaurant at different tables, but together in the same place. It's just you're changing the narrative. Like that's not I want to go to a restaurant like that. And I'm going to tell you, I haven't been to something with that that environment, and I want that. And I feel like that's such futuristic type of way of what we're going to see more and more of in the future. And it's kind of cool that you've kind of been that catalyst maybe in New York City and others that might be in the restaurant business listening in today, thinking, you know what, that's something to work to as well.
I mean, absolutely. Like I said, I certainly hope that there are other people that are listening to this or have heard about what we're doing at Contento and have taken that as a template to do the same. I mean, that's a dream of mine. By all means, please do copy away.
Right. So what is that message that you would want to leave with business owners that are our viewers today? And what would you want them to leave with?
Well, I think it's very simple. I think, of course, I think generally speaking, most human beings want to participate and be part of the greater good, right? And sometimes to be part of the greater good requires sacrifice. But of course, having your own business, there's still the bottom line. You still have to pay bills. It's not an easy thing. But I think what I can certainly say is that if you do it right, you built it right, and you keep those doors open for everybody, and you greet them with enthusiasm individually, like they're the last person on earth, I mean, they're going to come back for sure. There's no doubt about that. And I think that I think the biggest mistakes that a lot of these businesses are doing is ignoring, just like you said a few minutes ago, 1 in 4 Americans have a disability. And just like you said, visible, invisible, right? I mean, those are statistics that you can no longer ignore, let alone if you're a business owner. So by all means, if you don't know much about the disability community, start looking it up, start reading it, start reaching over the aisle, start making friends with people with disabilities, because I promise you, if you ask them, they will be happy to help you.
They will, and they want to be on the journey with you, and they want to do it. They want to see a different world. So thank you so much, Yannick, for being with us today. Your voice, all that you're doing is incredible, and I love continuing to watch and get highlights of you on social media and everywhere that you touch. And
Thank you.
Just keep doing what you're doing, my friend.
Thank
you. And for our guests, thank you for being here today. Until next spotlight session, I'll see you soon.
Thank you.
Thanks, Yannick.
Have a good one.